What is happening? What am I being pranked? Is this like some big Hollywood prank where everybody just dunks on animation and then it turns out they were joking? Phil Lord and Chris Miller recently wrote a guest column for Variety where they talked about the disrespect that the animated category, even needing to be a category, is getting right now. And it's something that has bothered me for a really long time. I just kind of need to vent. I don't understand the disrespect that animation gets from the rest of the real movie industry. I wanted to start out by reading a quote from this guest article that they wrote for Variety. It says here, the head of a major animation studio once told an assembly of animators that if we played our cards right, we would one day, quote, graduate to live action. Insane. Years later, an exec at another studio said a certain animated movie we made was so enjoyable that it reminded them of, quote, a real movie. Is this a joke? In this article, they also talk about the fact that when Beauty and the Beast was nominated for Best Picture, that's when the Academy created the Best Animated Picture category because they were afraid of animated films winning the real award. What timeline am I living in? Into the Spider-Verse, Spirited Away, Howl's Moving Castle. Like, Hayao Miyazaki, his whole catalog is some of the greatest animated movies, some of the greatest movies ever made. And his animation style is so beautiful. It's a medium that I don't get it. I don't understand. Some of the best TV shows, like Big Mouth, like Arcane, which is literally one of the best first seasons of any TV show probably to ever exist, happens to be animated. And one of the reasons I don't understand it specifically with TV, and let's take that new Halo show for example, which according to the reviews is pretty bad. There are a lot of reasons that might be the case, but when I watched Arcane, it was pretty evident to me that part of what makes the show work is that they chose to do it animated, because if they had attempted to create that same world with practical effects or special effects, CGI, whatever, all that stuff, it wouldn't have worked as well. Like, the medium of animation allowed them to tell a better story than live action could. And the animation in that show visually is beautiful. Way more beautiful to look at than anything you could have done with a real TV show with non-animated format. This is insane. Into the Spider-Verse, one of the best films to come out in the last 5 years. The animation in that film is part of what makes it so amazing. That famous shot of Miles rising as he's falling, and they flip the camera upside down and you see it going up. There was a time, I think several years ago, when Toy Story 3 was nominated for Best Animated Film and also nominated for Best Picture, which again, I don't see why those two categories need to be separated. I don't understand why animation is like pushed aside, and also it is way harder to do animated stuff. Isle of Dogs, Spider-Verse, those movies took 4 to 5 years to create, to be able to tell those stories, to tell them in the format and the way, the medium that they wanted to tell them. How does that not count as real movies? I appreciate Phil Lord and Chris Miller talking about this because it's getting out of hand. When they presented this category at the Oscars, Amy Schumer, who, that's a different video, I guess, but Amy Schumer made a joke about Encanto being the only one she saw because that's the one her kids made her watch. What is happening? What am I being pranked? Is this like some big Hollywood prank where everybody just dunks on animation and then it turns out they were joking? Because like, the disrespect to so many people who work so hard in this field is mind-boggling. Hayao Miyazaki, Phil Lord and Chris Miller, Mitchell's and the Machines. That movie was incredible. That should have been nominated for Best Picture, which is a category that they could nominate 10 films, and they never nominate 10 movies to begin with. The idea that animation is just for kids is insane. It seems to me like an idea that is put out there by people who really should give some of these animated TV shows and movies a chance, because there's a very good chance that those animated movies and TV shows end up being some of the favorite things that they've ever seen. Because I know that a lot of these movies and shows are some of my favorite creations ever. And there are so many examples of times when something would have worked better as an animated show. I would argue that a lot of the Marvel live action shows should be animated, because they could do a lot more with some of these characters if they animated them, that CGI is just not going to work as well. I love animated stuff. I just saw Turning Red. Phenomenal film. A phenomenal film that happens to be animated. I mean, when I saw Mitchell's and the Machines, when I saw Spider-Verse, when I saw Spirited Away as a kid, like, these are films that stick with you for such a long time. And it's crazy to me that after all these years, after so much hard work, people who work on these projects are still being treated as if they're creating stuff just for kids. And like, there are live action kid shows. There are live action movies for kids. How did we get here? How did we get here? You go to the Disney Channel. You're going to tell me that most of those live action shows are for adults? Come on. Come on. Channel 13, PBS back in the day. Sesame Street. Zaboomafoo. Zaboomafoo. What are we doing, guys? What are we doing? God, this shit really, this bothers me, man. This really bothers me. This is a medium that it deserves way more respect than it's getting right now. And I don't understand why we're at this point where, like, we even need to be having these discussions because animation as an entire field is being disrespected. Watch Arcane. Arcane is so fucking good. Watch Turning Red. Watch Spirited Away. Spider-Verse. Mitchell's versus the Machines. Isle of Dogs. Watch these movies. Please, they're so good. They're not just for kids. They're not, some of these aren't even for kids. What are you talking about for kids? I'm just ranting. Thanks for watching. Support animation.